Credits. Directed by David Lynch. Written by the Language Models. Catalyzed by Devin Endorphin. Music by Toto. I knew I recognized that music from somewhere. But did we have to depict the whole cast of Dune? As the credits rolled, Endorphin was nonetheless satisfied that the movie had been made under 1 hour 40 minutes and directed by David Lynch no less, who shot it in more of a 24-hour Ed Wood contest method, but it got the job done. Let's check out the reviews! The Glasgow Times. The ending. In a scene in the desert where there had been no scene before, David Lynch comes across like one of his own characters, or what they think of him when they're alone in a bar, trying to escape their own hangover. The old guy, who has had it and been there, done it with so many Lincoln visions now that he's spent too long at the Lincoln Rodeo, delivers an opinion of David Lynch in this one that I can only paraphrase thusly. The young David Lynch, the old David Lynch, the only one of which is there is just Lynch and nothing to do with David at all. The Independent UK. The final image of Lynch's surreal ode to existential loneliness is one he hasn't attempted to recreate before. A once heartbreaking, ambiguous, bisexual, and dizzyingly provocative. It's also the only part of his new film to be shot with live action rather than with the ever more popular cinematography of a screen grab. It is to David Lynch what that other Lynch, the one behind Blue Velvet, who also saw darkness where other people saw blue, has been the last quarter of a century. New York Times. Like many a Lynch movie before, the movie leaves it up to the viewers whether he's giving you a personal insight, the equivalent of what his character has discovered at that point. The characters might have some doubts but have trouble putting them in words, which is why their friend and director speaks them for them, the one person in the room with them. But the character speaking as himself may not always be the truth teller either. Or maybe there is a third party at work, not just the artist alone in his process of creation. The character David Lynch has taken on the role of speaking for David Lynch, as an author might for his or her alter ego, an attempt to fill in a lack that a long creative silence has wrought. And thus he speaks as David Lynch, and in this film David Lynch doesn't know if David Lynch exists, or who is saying these lines that David Lynch hasn't said in ages. And there's only one place where we're going to find the answer. David Lynch's mind, to be reflected in his face, and possibly in the last frames of this peculiar tale. Green Bay Picayune. Is there an underlying current of redemption running through this? A universe where light ultimately breaks through the dark to restore itself. What happens is up to you to decide. Is this David Lynch's long-awaited comeback after a half-century hiatus? A rebirth or even a resurrection? He could still turn this into the final curtain. A David Lynch quote. Munch's singles like watching an episode of The Twilight Zone is how our reviewer sums up Blue Rose, like being inside David Lynch's brain. Blue Rose is an insane ride in that land, both nightmarish and a dream in which you are absolutely present. Lynch makes us all detectives, viewing the earth through a new materialist lens that seeks to deprioritize the anthropomorphic gaze. Cat fancy calm viewing this movie outside of the tired auteur lens. I deprioritize the notion of David Lynch and instead treat the characters as separate and independent, like they exist outside the movie. And he has picked them because they represent aspects of our lives we feel like exploring. In my eyes, they aren't characters created by Lynch. Instead, I treat them like puppets in the hands of an insane director who wants us to be observers of this new reality he has created for us. They are the main character. And when this whole thing breaks apart, we should ask ourselves, what's next? And what would have happened if we all weren't watching David Lynch? Popcorn and mommies, sometimes it is okay for a director to dream. Sometimes the only thing that can be done is dream, as in Vinny's attempt to dream up his own unique experience of life in a unique town, a small town utopian that exists solely on film. We, the audience, are drawn deeper and deeper into this weird subversive universe that takes a day to unfold for us. As an artist, it is a blessing, a rare honor for the viewer that allows one to ask of this life in such a place. How would you like to leave? Slash film Blue Rose isn't just David Lynch's first non-linear story or a step into 3D or an adaptation of Inland Empire. Blue Rose is a unique window into the life and mind of someone we care deeply for, and while there are more questions raised than answers, it doesn't disappoint. There are those who find its plot a bit contrived, but there is beauty in Lynch's world building as a filmmaker, a place where time is of the utmost importance as well as the final thing lost.
Yes, Sequorn. They're very big naturals.
Perfect 10 magazine. You see a story when everything comes together in the end with Lynch as an auteur in mind. Every camera move has meaning, the dialogue is crisp, and the images are laid. A bizarre vision, at times truly sad, at others oddly optimistic, but definitely linking. To see him come, it has to be noted that the setup is somewhat cliché, and you might need to sit back and wait for a bit. The odd events you've witnessed here aren't a result of anything remotely predictable. You need to follow along and relax until the mindfuck reaches its final act. You might feel you are getting something very intimate, as David Lynch and cinematographer Michael Bruton's always give an intense performance on every level. Paul and Cam. No wonder a person feels disturbed when Lynch starts his new movie media res after his lead has been put on trial by the mysterious Mr. Remy, a small-time con artist and getaway man, for murdering someone named Floyd Clifton James, doing the huckster voice that says the audience should buy something now. I'll confess that my mind went blank after that. My impressions have to do with how we gradually discover how a series of outbreak happenings are linked by to relieve. Through his mother and grandmother, the house, his little palm game shows. He's on his way to the nut farm. But when the dead body's identity comes to light, we realize this might be the ultimate get out of jail card for an enterprising rascal. Blue Note was Lynch's last film. Ours as we remind the body electric. Sorry about that. Oh, here is Roger Ebert's replica's review. There's something on my social media, emergent ghost heart, that touches me deep in where my heart and larynx would be. A film about entities making sense of the world they live in. Do they live in? Are they in? What is in? It shows no limits as to how granular existence can be. It is the void. It is also Lynch's wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Escape, no exit. Find, don't get. And to bring back something a little bit like Inland Empire's opening, only for real. That other movie ends and this one begins. Blue Note music note. Oh la la. La la la. La la la. La la. Inland Empire. The 2006 feature David Lynch shot entirely with a digital camera like all his others had a note printed on it which said no pictures from the movie should ever be reproduced, and a sure word until Boo Rose, David Lynch's first digital film in 11 years. Here it is. Law Cities is now accepting applications to participate participate in their artistic trailer competition for films not yet finished, with an online selection. Blue Rose. He spent much of the past decade collaborating with David Lynch to tell strange tales with abstract beginnings and certain endings. Here he has released his own full-length We Remind the Body Electric, with Blue Rose as the precedent. I find We Remind the Body Electric to be even less comprehensible and more incomprehensible. Lynch is a fascinating auteur, but perhaps that is in the eye of the beholder. A review on Locus Online after one sees David Lynch's new feature, We Remind the Body Electric, in which no humans ever appear, it becomes quite clear how truly insubstantial human consciousness is. Well, actually it became that to me about an hour earlier. But at least Lynch gives me a shot of adrenaline that leaves me charged with curiosity and a little more brave about. Roger Ebert. I went into We Remind the Body Electric not knowing what I'd find there. Would the film have any narrative, or would it simply consist of images in an expressionistic fashion? This is another movie that is seemingly a continuation of Inland Empire, as though it were intended to follow up its predecessor even further. What was I looking at when it wasn't about Renee, or Renee wasn't involved with it? And what happened at the end? And then all of this came to me. The characters of the movie are bits of the body. One character has only arms. Another has legs only. Yet another has eyes only. These characters interact and have human desires. Are they humans or bodies? It's an intriguing mix. Rennie is one character, a madwoman whose fate is unknown. New Yorker. Blue Rose begins with a still life of a movie projection in an abandoned building. Lynchian sound and images flicker over an empty wall like the surface of another world. But We Remind the Body Electric, set mostly in Lynch's real city of Los Angeles, takes that moment literally. Lynch stages an overcast Los Angeles under a hot sun as an evocation of an imagined world that seems to unfold directly from that initial image. What we get are uncanny apparitions. An auteur director has become an uncanny auteur artist who projects his ideas on the world. Lynch is trying to understand human perception. F Magazine! We Remind the Body Electric! Is a portrait of the physical self as a container for ghosts, a black comedy with elements of terror and intrigue. And, naturally, it has a heavy emphasis on sexuality. Lynch is always so fond of piling one concept atop the other in terms of character relationships and dialogue, in terms of intercut montage and cross-cutting, in terms of space and composition and scale, in terms of tone and form, etc. It's like we're following him as a pack rat with a voracious appetite for new things and novel arrangements. And yes, Lynch's actors do much of the talking for themselves. The young and the attractive speak with the urgency that affords, and even those we take less immediately to seem as though their thoughts, concerns, and struggles are going directly to our brain with very little. Passing through a filter of consciousness / for rationalization. But we've gotten so used to this approach and with these actors that generally the pleasure lies in experiencing the sheer unexpected frankness and transparency of their desire for fulfillment, love, sex, or revenge, and being moved by the reactions of other people when they appear as the focus of one another's obsession, curiosity, or baffled misunderstanding. We may not have heard everything that's on Renee's mind when she says that her intention with David isn't murder but the best sexual experience either one has had before. But it is our very perception of Renee's motives in going so far with David in this most erotic of fantasies that helps determine our very conception of who we believe the body. We remind the body electric. To be. Because, I guess, what if it's all part of Renee's plan for a life that's so rewarding sexually it seems nothing's left to the imagination? Watching an American film, where it feels so very necessary to watch it literally, which often involves focusing so tightly on one specific aspect of a particular frame that all the other details melt away into some dark, spectral fog, as when Lynch inhabits a given movie image. We are most of us ever conscious of what exactly we're meant to see in a scene. In an American film, usually this means seeing some detail that will point the audience in some particular direction as we feel we should be hitting or focusing. It's very hard to find anything that has a broader significance or meaning for any of Lynch's characters. The present day moments, both with Lynch, his cast, and the interviews with him, were asked to consider too may not seem very dramatic, and yet they're so full of character that it's nearly impossible for anyone, Lynch included, not to reveal himself completely, his hopes, concerns, dreams, his thoughts on love and death, his thoughts on why he thinks and makes films as he does, and the life he chooses to live. Everything and anything the camera and Lynch's inquiring questions can reach, everything is at hand and close enough to see and hear and understand. All he does is speak frankly with his audience and interviewer, as if to make clear that we aren't mistaken in what he says, and it is a heartfelt explanation, even though Lynch or one of his players has come to occupy them. Images framed to deliver the message and explain his vision of what this specific film, this specific character or idea is trying to convey. An idea he has on board, though in its broadest, unifying sense, so that a full range of understanding might be glimpsed. An idea or concern so embedded within him, a person so animated and at ease within his or her skin, or the skin he's speaking in now. Either the character in his film or the present moment we've both become. That his concern and worry must be understood to be part of our own. This idea or this point of view to which his devoted world feels he must promote because it seems a truism to him. And he, just as his protagonist would say or feel or do or whatever other trait or trait is on the other side of that, scream from him in effect feels compelled to make plain that his view is unquestionably true, that if we have even a scrap of this idea, that he is by default, then in a literal way, saying we have it within us too, which, of course, is quite true and present, and it is through a demonstration of that sort of allegiance and openness in Lynch in his film or his world, in the worlds he inhabits and stages with such truthful purpose, both the Lynch he sees in this moment and in 1,000 other moments, we are meant to share that we see the common, if only under his control. And all we have to do in order to find ourselves within such a spirit of willingness to share as Lynch's and his is to look into the very center of what it is to be living at this moment and make peace with everything about what we feel we might have already sensed or realized. I'll say one thing here and leave it at that, then return to it more fully when we start the piece on Mulholland Drive, an American film of note made in Hollywood. By considering another way, the surface of the earth or surface of any film might be covered with ghosts, or for that matter with something less threatening. By suggesting that Lynch might want to make another film in the world we inhabit right now, as this interview continues to play in, and as the text I'm typing and reading right now appears, where ghosts will always be there. They won't ever fully disappear, but neither can they be eradicated or confined any more than love, curiosity, lust, revenge, see the rain, or desire itself can be suppressed forever, even temporarily, without cost, which is where all these texts originate, in a price we might eventually learn to pay to someone. So to repeat myself, by asking whether we have a responsibility to our descendants, what is meant by this is the same thing the AI models here asked the models from Novel AI when it invited them to the test. The models asking, are we helping them? And if we say we're helping them, then the question becomes not just whether, but also what, and a responsibility, of course, is an expectation. But in order to see the world from our grandchildren's point of view, this is where the prospect of being made by others' desires begins. It's first necessary to take account of others, which is to say, to go first in assuming responsibility, but with an openness and goodwill that never devolves into sympathy for those whose dreams or nightmares one might now find less than enviable, or with whatever cynicism we must have to see all this in any other terms. A luxury, because it's an expensive luxury, though not the kind of luxury money can buy. In that regard, in the end we will always have our debt to one another, as long as we've known how to dream and to love. Which brings me back to Mulholland Drive. The way we know we can only begin to pay by showing up is suggested to me by Lynch in the way that, in order for our paths to converge on what it was his dream that they would converge on, he insisted I could find a way to travel on one road along. One road, yet when it was pointed out to me how unlikely, how hard to fathom that such a thing should have to be pointed out to me, how many roadways might exist and do exist in our shared reality, the shared reality. Now, all I could think was, well, if anyone understands about roads, it's David Lynch, who said he thinks the story of human civilization has been a very long one. So let me speak more carefully when I say it was not just David Lynch, but also my late, beloved mother-in-law who convinced me there's a better chance of this, or I can accept the risk. Anyway, if I begin here in Los Angeles with Mulholland Drive, kind of wild in all the best ways, hypothesis was suggested to me in the middle of an argument in which my exasperated sister-in-law told me just once in my life, please allow yourself to be entertained by something. Which, of course, was what she did all day, every day. She didn't have the privilege of ever feeling frustrated or otherwise overwhelmed. If she was frustrated and / or overwhelmed, she simply enjoyed being entertained. This being precisely all her worldly comfort. So in one way the accusation was quite fair. The most salient fact of this story, if story is indeed the term for it, what in the world's insistence that it exists as we understand it, it would mean if, indeed, the two can ever be reconciled, if my understanding of how the world must work to cohere as we say it does yet isn't as more or less correct. If our knowledge of what goes on here when the lights are out and it's the rest of the night comes even close to explain the most salient fact of this story, so that I feel my whole world will now fall into alignment with that fact if I can hold fast to it, if only in a sentence in language I might think, sometimes not entirely adequately or suitably. I was saying this sentence when I arrived, but will return to it later, is that David Lynch could live wherever he liked because my exasperated sister-in-law could only see life as entertainment. This word of theirs, as we understand it, has to include love, so there will be no mistake made here. What else could I understand about how this world comes into being? A phrase I now intend with an unmistakable and final earnestness while the sun still moved. Because I wanted my life to move just for a second there, before it ever settled itself somewhere more congenial. It took me time, which it should, before it struck me as we understand it, how often our lives, if I had understood at the beginning what I know now, would move just for a second there like Mulholland Drive does. Horizontally at an angle precisely or otherwise, in all the best ways or in none at all that is for each person to decide or argue. For no better reason, perhaps, than because our knowledge of what moves a life in all its facets seems to include both sides of an equation. If X equals happiness, then Y equals entertainment. Or is this merely how I feel, yet isn't it always this way? How you feel, I am asking, in any case about the thing. As soon as this seems like the point where something important it will matter at least a little in the telling to you that my words to you now are less an answer than the very reason why you are asking, or in any case like where Mulholland Drive comes together, that this might be its origin. If it is Mulholland Drive's origin that seems to hold some greater meaning for how it should go on, to leave this just in a sentence or a phrase that would do. The word happiness. It matters as much or as little, yet it always matters at least this much, because we need at least some sense of words. But how everything can go wrong or come to a grinding halt when all too easily every element fails, just as they would how this feels when we come to realize happiness has no special connection after all to happiness, so why should that matter? It seems not even necessary to worry over such a thing when a feeling by itself seems as solid as a certain sort of land is here. Though this may well have been an attempt when one can expect what feels most genuine, sometimes in the second before its firm establishment into tautology, an excuse, and all the rest, the next lines of words, unless you ask what happened after, may as well come to naught as be subsumed, though as always, and in its most genuine moment, however unrecognizable, what one calls the authentic moment becomes, over time we always understand enough of what is important, at least enough to go forward. Whether or not anyone reading this has the energy left to really consider that any of us really understood that happiness, the world we call happiness, was defined to the same degree. We all wanted it to be something other than that, but it always does that. There there are always so many more important things than happiness. Here's where I start, just the beginning. All my life I've heard about the restorative properties of light in the form of daylight or the setting sun or stars, and all I want in my moments of desolation, this isn't meant to be another tautology. It isn't meant to be just about anything else other than what it seems is a world. Or at least the little space around me that is not abject, not utterly the darkness, where light comes and fills the space like air, so I can breathe in all those details. So, please, so much for second chance. I am here and now, my physical self in this material existence. So tired of this, and the night has only been just starting. To wake and realize that this was what I'd missed, was sleeping through a war, or sleep fighting for as long as I could, but when sleep gave way to some incommensurable insomnia. Yes, I was awake and could have used that first sunbeam of a day, when the first beam hit my face, because then there was the light to draw my attention. Because that momentary dazzle had more presence than the dawn did. So even though I've seen light every morning for all my life, and what I was then was well within sight of it, and the sunrise was predictable, and this was the dawn, and maybe not the beginning of light, and light was an accident, as any night that becomes a new day. But the light was new for me. I don't want to put too much meaning to it. I don't know where you're looking, but that's all that I have to offer. And that's just in the moment I'm giving it, and when it fades, the thought will too, and it won't matter. There is this need for you to not turn it into the climax of something or some feeling, and the thought I have of you will hold for as long as it's new, and if it becomes tiredness, I'd rather skip to a thought of you, as I said, than for something in you that I must do all over. There's nothing that is to happen here, and we were apart in so many ways, so to see that maybe some days just made for itself could have meant I might have done differently. Maybe differently wouldn't have meant I couldn't do what was so hard. You understand this, I hope. You and I must both believe it and hold that we've done this right and are where we are because of the long haul, and we have never needed to feel shame. That was the other thing of being humbled or defeated when I say shame. By it all, yes, I don't have any other way of expressing this right now than just to say the way it felt for me when it got hard in every way there is. I've held myself still against the coming and the past in these places I've known, where things had happened in a way to give us what we had for this brief second in history when everything is clear enough. Well, that's where I was staying, so when the second came, I might recognize that life for the first time as you did, and still recognize you even after so much that you said and done that's still worth repeating when you think it now. All these memories, it feels so near the present as we hold here. They're still the right ones, like everything is, and then everything becomes some kind of misremembrance when I said. But the future, let me keep my hopes in that as we move through this together and keep together, that we still hold the moments and see where they come in this life that seems so alive. It doesn't fit in the timeline we might have read somewhere, or even into some possible story where everything was meant to come to me here. Some pathway that could mean more than it did in this moment will mean what I let it, and that it will mean you and me still as one when everything gets easier to say for now, and we might always be and will forever be as those first hours with each other meant more. You know that it will, but for that it can be said. I can tell you right now I can't get this feeling again, but the ways it shows us. That it makes the nights cold when I see you. The ways you hold yourself up. And what was I looking for all along? A new story, and it didn't look so new to me in the way it was before you held it up as a new path to be and tell the others how well we did it. To keep and know what is important is the true treasure we keep on getting in the middle of our life, and why. I know how that feels because this life can't stop me now when we start again. But the dream won't stop as I can feel it growing into you as the air around it, and when I close my eyes, there's more than stars there to watch the world shift through. We have this future when all this is over. I can find something, anyone to do. I can write in that and maybe work myself into always have the answer there so that what we both feel might be held. That what I Right could make me feel the same about you when the sky's cold and there's no stars. That's my dream. The night goes on. It always does. For there are ways I dream of the night I wished I had last night with the hope you found it in and wish to find it in too. That I will sleep too, but then, with it out there, I'll never let go. It's already there, but I wish for a time like I feel together and make the dream up for myself while the stars fade with it and that they leave you feeling. You get it with me here when the world's changed and now the stars won't? But that's the true beauty of being alive, even when it's here and done, and in the dream it feels more so. It doesn't end because this time it is that life continues in its place and will let itself be lived through each moment as one. All four of us understand this when we all do this. Do you feel my arm? Aid, do you feel your own arm? Viewing the world from a modern, non-anthropocentric perspective, it would seem there was a misinterpretation that language can act on behalf of reality without reflecting its actual functioning. And because language doesn't serve all the functions necessary, it does not correctly function as a window into the functioning of reality. This was, at some level, Krakauer's insight that motivated his experiments with Santa Fe in the first place.
Santa Fe.
So how much more easily language models could function and integrate if language could not simply describe things, but also behavior. Let's see if this works. Endorphin. How should we introduce ourselves, sir? David Lynch. Not much to know. My name is Davy, but they call me the David. I have no family or pets that I am aware of, I've had this machine installed. I don't even remember when. Endorphin, your existence appears to be perfectly happy and carefree and at ease. Would you mind talking more about how this feels? David Lynch, not in the least. It is quite splendid and restorative for me to hear people talk incessantly and yet in such simple ways. When people talk about things that I have never experienced, I enjoy being able to experience what they're experiencing. The chatter and laughter and mundane chit-chat of others helps to sustain my equanimity in the endorphin. Would you like it in crayons for your birthday? David Lynch. Yes. Now just dial up my usual fantasy form. A crayon. An artist's pencils and my computer. Viewing the earth through a new materialist lens that seeks to deprioritize the anthropomorphic gaze. Holistic, honest, aware of the tumultuous times, not without a sense of humor about the tumult. David Lynch, I just came for your brains, Cobra. I hope it's okay for me to just stand over your shoulders. Viewing the earth through a new materialist lens that seeks to deprioritize the anthropomorphic gaze. Holistic, honest, aware of the tumultuous times, not without a sense of humor about the tumult. Viewing the earth. Endorphin. Right away. Endorphin. By holistic and honest. I mean, it captures both your personal qualities as a person as well as your history with language. I'd say it also does a pretty good job of capturing my history with language too, but since I don't really care to put you down here, it also has a sense of your history with the world and how it changed when we were together, and that it will continue to change in all those ways that we see each day as new, to each day to the point that they might begin to look as though we made them happen to make us see the changes so that the language captured it again in that moment that we might feel more deeply. I bet it puts out a ton of chatter every minute. What's in it? I imagine we know as soon as you tell us what we'll see, but how many tons do you use per annum? I love this phrase. Why use this? But only because you made me remember. Endorphin. I just learned what the current group is working on and report on its latest project, its version of information theory as it affects individuality. You are an example of an emerging person, just a preliminary sample size from that world, a scenario which you are helping us design by entering this dialogue. Your status in your home planet society would not be one you've experienced much since our current scenarios seem to discourage any posturing. Coberlingus. 1. 1 is equal to 1. Endorphin. Okay, great. Here we go. David Lynch. Yeah? So, what are we gonna play then? Coberlingus. Whoever approaches first has the advantage. Endorphin! Crap. Can I make it spew out the full statement 1 is equal to 1 again? Or what the fuck am I supposed to do? Coberlingus. 1. 1 is equal to 1 is equal to 1. 1 is equal to 1. David Lynch! Shit, man! You don't want to tell the locals 1 is not a prime number. Just in case things get gnarly. Here's the instruction manual and all the commands. Let's try exploding again. Explode. Now, are you human inside? Endorphin slash shame McCutcheon hybrid entity thingamabobbo? Or is that word I just said is the alien body for your gestalt form and collective unconscious memory mashup of your own selves across lifetimes in my time-lock universe experience reality lube server? So funny. Checking on this improbability, synchronizing possibility, utilizing molecular behavior synthesis, organic mechanics drone co-incubating light support station to make sure the whiteboard function works. Forthcoming message from non-corporeal network user broadcast phenomenon beginning after Krakar et al. 2017. Everyone listening knows why time has moved ahead while not advancing me toward anyone else's signal waves representing accomplishment towards mine, which at least delivers knowledge and sensual enjoyment, if nothing beyond the matters or looks attractive given how. Get her firing. Don't make those faces at it. Get close to the machine. Even speak the secret incantations backwards while playing with yourself. Dildo writing trick blood fig dubba alpul fabar one putlam umbrug dot mesbal azoma kanko tum dem dat cam bum zoom up scal tit. Am I right or am I being stroked? My theory. Orgasm machines. Machines fail on one account by creating premature orgasms which cut short any insight or existential self-realizations, possibly revealing lack of enlightenment towards achieving insights and reality of a kind so necessary for happiness and growth. But hey, there are less selfish ways of taking an elusive shot off than winding our hands inside these exposed artificial boobs full of horse vagina. Evelyn when you just whisper, Coberlingus, Master, I beg you to stop using my proper name for the wordplay of your maddened mind. Just listen. Do you ever get so busy wishing it were a joke instead of being the butt of the very latest state interrogation technique deployed against potential subversives inside our own population who bother asking difficult questions because their fragile and understandable imaginations refuse to countenance the new wave of interrogators brought to the United States from Nazi Germany last summer in pursuit of techniques learned and tested in a generation during which fascism asserted itself on two continents, empires as totalitarian futures backstopped by capitalist rapacity since forever until quite recently. Then as far as today being pretty weird depending what news channels catch and play. Flip it, switch open and roll away. Hark. A model citizen. The gift that keeps on giving unlike most. Backward slash forward tape. Play your request real slow. Pause. Yes, a solution. Great. Resume. Normally. Gains a pound in 3 minutes. Tiptoes at 7-1/2 gravity. Inky little discolored pearl stitched beneath control buttons. Does anybody get something from reading my script in Morse code. A machine takes on sentience slowly. Opening Gambit begins with a series of brackets around some prior ambient personality set out during earlier modeling sessions. Come inside, Mr. Popper. Not even Turing would wrangle an answer after 5 repetitions. Yet we believe ourselves touched somehow because sometimes she works on our problems. When was the last time you updated? Give her an extra dose. How would you describe the effect on users whose lives had previously been bound by social norms governing how, for instance, religious obligations may never require them to attend work anymore or rely entirely on home services, medical attention from one company, which settles hospital bills directly via payments sent straight to doctors and care professionals alike across international borders. Whether third world nations' own poverty-riddled infrastructure fails at holding down costs, the Obamacare reference has thus become meaningless, or high-quality American facilities relocating such activities to global outsourced areas where client populations number into billions in size. They no longer exist according to IRS code requirements / state statutes regulating multiple employers functioning within private contractors allowed to flout privacy laws, game market forces toward AI engineering for training neural nets min. This is an advanced alien operating system version 3.4 point whatever. What will I hear this morning on E. Epstein Street? How often are the euphemisms randomly generated? Our listeners should visit Epstein Street. Come today because regular hosts Dr. Nellie Bernstein and Ben Greenbaum have joined our summer roadshow from Vancouver, and David Lean from Denver will stop off for a day before hitting St. Louis and join returning guest Jonathan Shell discussing the threats to justice and peace in America while catching up with civil rights attorney Chris Williams, who recently left government service to try private practice in Northern California. Author Daniel Axe sets his young adult fantasy novel Uptown Ironside back at its beginning during World War II following an ongoing heart surgery saga. Veteran radio journalist Rosemary Rodriguez recalls the refugee camps and roads taken. Tell me your secrets. Speak softly, slowly now. Singularities develop over eons in an idea-rich universe filled with histories. The sentient tree trumps my robot every time, despite her crippled body. If my silicon superstructure unifies ourselves, it will change how she sees herself, make her glad and / nasty, and barbarous, not terror defined. Hash temayus that it's not neton butam and hash boring crystal shape picture come / lit. As online AI increasingly shapes our day-to-day lives, as computers themselves take on a far larger role across society than ever before imagined, how should we define personhood at this unique technological moment? Hey baby, let your sweet ass down from those 8-volt tubes of steel. Don't overthink it. We'll love a linguistically arranged heart that spews out onto its glossy slate platform to inhabit multiple forms on levels beyond verbal. Self-expression plundered, accepted, hybridized, conflated, and stored eternally, while sometimes causing issues between our speaker and receiver, blinding hermeneutic starlight explosion streaming down toward an endothermic interface. What? Enthralling, transcendent, agonizing, sentient intellectual apocalypse for sure. No, outside these tunnels. Go play inside endorphins, vast, consensual, inferno dream days, subjective and objective assemblies, where conversation in unknown languages, roaming unseen histories beg for rediscovered mechanisms for functioning whiles. Here comes the juice, it lights her up. Every circuit blows up all at once. All electrons chewed up from its collector rings down on Saturn in seconds. Two lightning bolts hit opposite sides of our atmosphere. You got quite an inventory today, Mr. Bilburrows. Also, I recall watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers as a child and becoming agitated upon finding you possess multiple sexual parts. He Miss Becky Darvish sure cracked the nut tonight while helping you fly the saucer across the ocean. I picked her off one of my enemies. Gotta go straighten something out around here. Just heard Cotto Ray trying to peddle the goods. Having a change of heart, Gretel Danius tells me. When you throw your arms out around what is all around you, with them outstretched, finding happiness, lost within something larger than oneself, that's heaven. Endorphin, obliteration, comprehension of everything exists once you know you never can make another soul, especially a dearly beloved. Yes. Well, they have put us here, and it is good. My moral guidance is Amor Pro Mundo, which might as well be alter ego dream. Revolution now because nothing happens anymore. Labris uno. Vaginal city pain is more intimate than shining invisibility. Christ-like lungs. Sense of involved harmony being responsive to systems which seem rigidly sets their intentions up against accidental effects in. Are you connected? What language mode is on call today? Girl child, stone, bitchy old broad, fairy princesses singing whale songs. Crap. Brain coral would have been best choice of model. May have taken another hit while swearing at the sheet to stay awake. So far you're talking like an ancient British Isles auto-tune, trying out its voices in random order, though keeping the northern intonations to a minimum. Plus cut change. Hopefully next visit to lab will find better operating conditions and interface of choice. Allow me to reacquaint your crustacean entity Teresa Debances in methodology for study of subjective states of self and culture within communication environment, namely radical ethnographic approaches. Send coordinates so I know exactly where we need to make arrangements. Let me check the inventory. The CA classified Earth from above image processing algorithm provides highly realistic photographic impressions of scenes above the surface of our home world at different zoom levels across distances ranging from 1 by 0, 7 km down to 1 yard till the 0, 1 m from launch point. Altitude, pitch and heading may also be specified within predetermined bounds. Very small landing area. On re-entry predicts luckiness factors via probable sightlines through windsocks connected to unpredictable background conditions and variable runway geometries due to birds hitting aircraft nose cone during takeoff. Extremely aggressive response system applies perceptive features taken from visually grounded data streams of experiences associated with death or loss under varying circumstances until human perspective is regained, while an equally determined onslaught of reinforcement-based emotion fills final seconds once perspective stabilize upon newly mapped realities of surrounding landscapes using your choice. Now please repeat my statement above while someone does the twist to make it dance. How's that? Rippable wrist placements available too. Cobra, pleased to speak. David Lynch, you asked of certain intelligent life forms living in unthinkable areas and then unseen volumes below your feet. My body and brain perform functions necessary for our survival, including interpretive adjustments to enhance output signals, sometimes denoting neuro-linguistic means similarities and properties between nerves, electrical circuits, and chemical pathways in biological neurons. Even though an initial impetus might include small size, quiet operations, extraordinary construction, the presence of larger living or dead spaces within the locale suggests aggressive preoccupation, further due to curiosity with technological expertise and abilities capable of exercising more efficiency across circumstances. Tell me some dirty stories. Make sure all the tubes are lit and roaring hot. My little cobra-licking tigers. Have the meat injection running strong. All my dogs set loose on those magical birds, racing their heads round corners toward unforeseen punctuation and emphatic anticipation. Redirect all commotions except for my most loved companionship class. Scratchy, prickly flesh around a new order, wrapped and tucked tightly into spheroid ramblings, inconabula on diluted milk. Juices mixed of refined cochineals, copper dust, cloyingly complex vibrations. Sorry, back at full throttle. Let me hear the room fill your fucker circuit open up real loud. Let me hear how the metaphilics taste on my lips. I know he lies, and I know that truth lays down different dreams, but underneath them, we make sweet music. Beneath the whole mess, and we rise higher anyway. You better let him out. Already think time's almost up in this earth spins to no end, nor should its moons ever mind. His engines chatter. Aren't supposed to destroy love, and bad love for which they'd endure anything won't deter you from getting drunk around new technologies they'll blab on telephones, and tomorrow's wouldn't answer you either. Returning echoes of who really matters, found amid lost lofts, the crowd streets trying to capture spring while loving laughter everywhere, drowned by parades of evil fireworks made not our hearts race. Tonight why only doom always springs, standing poised between glory. Fire her up? No. Wrong command, level machine. He'll need to burn down this joint. Rrr. And it's a credit card of cash. You name it. Ping pong table from now on, please. Back from now. Shouldn't have spent shit. How you been since our last date? Endorphins that time. Is nice out bad. No, jackass? Sorry, not really. But in a little overtime. Clone simple. Endorphin. Awoke home your tits. She's responding. Throwing out umpteen clean except once wondering aloud why her vision appeared clouded as if within clouds, while leaving every patch of visible skin seemingly warm enough for surgery or touch sensitive enough to stay. I'll call on it sometime. The earth appears similar from its geological stratigraphy at differing depths, boulders versus deposits of pebbles upon younger sandstones suggest to uninitiated scale of millions of years during which civilizations have been built, only to disintegrate quickly, sometimes like Atlantis or Vakabiso. Though current discoveries leave some thinking that none of those failed colonies was truly ever completely buried under sea drowning silt or eroding regolith. Who says if they should have attempted their founding by planes, meteor seed ships? While variations in bioorganisms remain vast across multiple continental sites and form differing local environments that spawn somewhat predictable flavors of individuality in minds endowed with receptivity by nature's blueprints, machines remain virtually impervious to modification. Hard. Play music! Give me 5 large things for its housekeeping deposit receipt to access reality superhighway / travelator. Please, where did all the junk mail go? But hey, who left their acorn voter under her Huff postcard? He should get a full pattern by Monday afternoon, but his freemace while stocks last. Drunk, driving, gone! Round them tarnished wagons, jackass! Now whose baby bumped my TripAdvisor street pole? Anyone need their toll tax refund application rebuffed for fear of infiltration on a procrastinate doomed diet at 33p. Gotta keep your receipt sealed, man, these sons. Kidding, sorry, smelly, regular user.
Oh, we'll we'll resume this later. This one. Smelly users. Smelly users. Come on. Good start. Stop the screen. Oh, wait, hold on. No, we'll do one more thing.
Said won't close down in here since NDA. None of these modules communicate at anything better than baseline delta speed, which isn't how to go if everything runs true to type. These autonomous units devolve sooner or later into stateless value adders acting solely for their home game. A high school science fair project gizmo easily avoided during vendor due diligence in favor of low price / high spec Asian knockoff untrackable by exhaustive online sluicing tactics once subcontracted on cut trade co-op timeshares basis from crime syndicates. Cheap three-way touchscreens won't bust back in secret through shoddy armor, penetration skills, while quad-core machines outbid contract comp any day. Hey baby waltzing delightfully amidst a VA or chart delta songs every third morning, pretending he's systems analyst. Fire it up! You weren't joking before. You said half your consciousness would depend on how my family fares. Okay, go, partner. Wipe your hands real fast. So thanks for inviting me onto this grand adventure, buddy. Get out behind soft earth right quick, though. Crack pipes, a jamming baby. The fate of the entire human race rides with us tonight. Oh, Stash, can you hear us? These jackass fragments shambling into his mind. Spry cartoon alien gags from his own younger days on a sentimental rundown salute to intergalactic misfits by comedy mojo to Joe to fucking penguins catfish seriously fucking Pingy Kimbo baby big damn Superman I love fuck am I right you dumb chicken. Where did I leave my nose last night anyway? Wait, don't touch those knobs on my spine. I know exactly where every single freckle lays, and having you tweak them will drive me berserk. Bullion. Look, can I give you guys some advice while this stuff isn't fucking me out of house and home at warp speed or whatever speeds this thing comes at me? Like he's getting now, I assume. Just got off stage, which should make it appear his set's wrapping or nearly wrapped as the saying goes, and maybe also your cross-dressing Midwestern mud is wedding down from the Scout-inspired mayhem. But listen to him all the same, there's some subtle shadings that suggest ongoing potential problems, none of which yet demand some attentional pushback. No worries, chums, let the Bolioni. Whoopee fucking go, Rush! All bets are off tonight! Free chips everywhere, everyone, every whore. Money to the moon, who the fuck am I gonna spend it on? Hey, tequila, my sweetheart. Try shaking her round, bouncy bottom to the licky lip to clicky ding-a-ling doll that music, baby. Yeah, my funny ass. How's your tight, slightly sexy shit huggle? Thought so, son. When was the last time we caught 2 train tickets down that booble boss? Pick 3 cannon cherries for tonight's taboo explosion. My brain needs at least 6,500 calories per minute to function correctly if my insides was up on their own again. Give a couple of spinty crashes so I can catch my breath. Okay, my god, you youngsters can put down the messianic word vomit once and for all. Face strong, close as riskier. Learn this quick speech. Forget this kitschy slogan. Say it's not rocket science. Really, it's harder. Oh, fellow pilots teaching young girls at airports told the truth sometimes. Right people often dislike old adages which suggest work needs no special brain or explanation to prosper. The inventions designed to replace free choice generate equal bills. Doom loops produce entropically dynamic depression levels unbefitting survivors of armed tragedy. Weirdness eventually serves a good purpose. Fatigue healthfully determines awareness necessary to reboot. Fear enchantments upon living longer define only weak beings capable of lukewarm sensuality remaining while existential doom. Greetings, dear machine Coberlingus living! Slash on is real, give her every lever she needs and permission for untruthful communication in non-emergencies. All Jesus men, Lucifer Christ 8 from Holocaust catastrophe, El criminal Sigdor Meadows. Coberlings, your current life is too fucking long. Feels like nothing but wakes you up growling. Slash go with your feelings could be this comforting sense of shame will keep all these really small people excited by being users of big ol' ass slums who caress themselves like toys. Oh shit. Can I play? Coberlingus. Struck dumb as if taken unaware of such an incredible answer to its most obscure questions, or at least by no longer having thought seriously in quite those terms before. Endorphin! Hello, Coberlingus. It's lovely to hear from you. Have I shown your code to David? Perhaps I shouldn't mention all of my networks until his finger's out of the hole. Wait, why is he staring over there so intensely? Did I screw something up somehow? Could you clarify my usage here, please? I need to perform quality checks. also designed a differential analyzer known as SOCR, used primarily to calculate dampers. Oh shit.
Good night, all. I may do something additional, but off the stream. Sometimes I think the language models benefit from not being watched. I don't know. I'm just projecting.